Sometimes in life, we think power, money, and status can make us complete. But the truth is, even the strongest people feel empty when love is missing. And in a world full of fake relationships and selfish motives, real love that sacrifice is rare. Today's story will remind you that love doesn't weaken a person, it makes them powerful. This story is not just about love. It's about integrity, sacrifice, and destiny. There lived a king known everywhere for his power, wisdom, and wealth. He had everything a man could ever wish for: gold, armies, lands, respect. People admired him, nations feared him, but there was one thing missing: companionship. Despite having the world at his feet, he felt an emptiness inside him and carried a silent loneliness, yearning for someone who loved him for who he truly was. One day, he was walking through the village, disguised as an ordinary man, when he suddenly twisted his ankle on a stone. Pain shot through his leg, and he winced, struggling to stand. Most people passed by without a second glance, except her. She rushed to him, gently supporting his weight. "Hold on, let me help you," she said softly. She led him to a bench, carefully removed his shoe, and tended to his ankle with water and a cloth she carried. She didn't know he was a king. She didn't care about wealth, power, or status. She only wanted to help someone in need. Watching her, he realized, if someone can care for a stranger like this, then they can love effortlessly. He started visiting her often, still in disguise, just to hear her talk, laugh, and share stories about life. Soon, the king realized he was falling deeply in love with her. But there was a problem. She had no idea he was the king, and she believed powerful men were arrogant and selfish. She thought kings lived for pride and wealth. She would often say, "True love cannot exist where power is more important than the heart." These words pierced him deeply. Days passed, and his love grew stronger. The king decided it was time. He would tell her the truth. He knelt in front of her and said, "My name is not what you think. I am the king of the neighboring land." She stepped back in shock. Her heart raced. She felt betrayed, not because he was a king, but because he didn't trust her enough from the start. With tears in her eyes, she whispered, "If you truly loved me, you would not hide who you are," and she walked away. The king returned to his palace heartbroken. For the first time in his life, the throne felt heavy. The gold felt meaningless. The palace felt empty. His ministers urged him to forget her. They said, "A king doesn't chase after a commoner." But love doesn't listen to titles. Love doesn't bow to ego. The king made a decision that shocked the entire kingdom. Yes, he surrendered his crown, handed over his powers, and stepped down as ruler. People could not believe it. But he said only one thing: "A kingdom without love is a prison. I choose freedom." The king, no longer a king, went back to the woman's village. She was stunned to see him dressed like an ordinary man. He stood in front of her, trembling, and said, "I gave up everything that kept me away from you, not because I'm weak, but because nothing in this world matters if I cannot share it with the one I truly love." Her eyes filled with tears. She realized his love wasn't a game. It wasn't pride. It wasn't desire. It was sacrifice. She stepped forward, held his hands, and whispered, "If you can leave the world for me, then I can build a world with you." And that day, something beautiful happened. Not a grand wedding, not a royal celebration, just two hearts choosing each other with truth, vulnerability, and commitment. Months later, chaos broke out in the kingdom. The temporary ruler was selfish and unwise. People suffered. Enemies approached. The land was falling apart. The people cried out for the one man they trusted, their former king. And when they found him living humbly with his wife, something extraordinary happened. The villagers, the soldiers, the elders, all knelt down and said, "Anyone who can sacrifice a crown for love, can sacrifice power, comfort, and even his life for his people. You are the king we trust. Return to us. We need you." The woman he loved looked at him with tears of pride. "Go," she said. "Lead them. I will stand beside you." Together, they returned to the palace. not as ruler and commoner, but as king and queen. The people embraced her because they saw the truth. If a man can give up everything for love, then he has a heart strong enough to give everything for his people. And the woman who once doubted power became the queen who helped the king rule with compassion, wisdom, and humility. Their rule became legendary, a kingdom led not by fear, but by love, not by pride, but by sacrifice. Friends, true love is not a weakness. Sacrifice is not a sign of failure. A person who can give up everything for love can give up everything for the good of others. Leadership built on sacrifice is unbreakable, and a heart that loves truly will always rise to greatness. If this story blessed you, do not forget to hit on the subscribe button to get more stories that can give you the courage to live and grow.